Hello everyone and welcome back to my candid world. In today's video I'm going to be talking about the 5 books that I have read so far in 2023. Before I get into the books that I read 5 different books, like I said, this year. 4 of those books were fantasy books and 1 was a memoir. And the very first book that I read was Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. And Skin of the Sea is inspired by primarily West African mythology. I don't have the book with me right now because I lent it to my mom after I read it. I enjoyed it so much I felt like maybe she would as well. And it is a YA or young adult fantasy novel. And the novel follows the story of Simi Dele, or Simi, who is a Mamiwata. Mamiwata basically collect the souls of those who died at sea and bless their journey back home to their supreme creator, and that's her job. She was transformed into a Mamiwata. She was once human, although since her transformation she doesn't really have all of her memories of that time, and it does plague her. It's part of her internal conflict throughout a lot of the novel, and everything's going all peachy and dandy. She's doing her job until one day, you know how main characters are, they're like, I know those are the rules, but what if? And her what if is she sees a boy thrown overboard. Most of these souls who die at sea, primarily in the novel, are those from the slave trade. They're slaves who are thrown overboard by the colonizers because they're like, we don't value human life if it's black. And one of the people thrown overboard is this boy. However, usually when the people are thrown overboard, they're already dead. This boy is actively drowning, and she goes against she does the forbidden thing. She goes against the one rule that Mamiwata are not allowed to do, and she saves the boy instead of letting him die and then blessing his journey back home. So because she has done this, because she has gone against this ancient decree, Simi has to basically make a very long and perilous journey to the supreme creator to make amends, which is obviously, it's not as easy as it sounds. She can't even directly meet him. She has to gather a bunch of things and just do this whole shebang to even get an audience with him. And through this journey she meets a ton of mythical creatures that are really awesome in West African mythology. You know, there's an undercurrent of romance between her and the boy that she's saved. There's this whole thing about vengeful gods and how what's supposed to technically be a straightforward journey to the supreme creator to make amends turns out to be an entire journey to save literally the world, because someone's like, I'm gonna use this for my own good. As one does, as the villain does. And the overall story is just so insanely descriptive. Like, it's just the way things are described by Natasha Bowen. It's so beautiful to read. Like, it's like, especially for all my black girls out there, the main character is a black girl, so you get to hear your curls and your coils and your skin be described in such detail that you're like, that's me, I am her. Overall, through this journey, Simi's battling with herself. She's battling with her identity as something that's not human, but she used to be human. She craves love. She craves human things, even though she was supposed to give those up. She just can't do it. Like, it's stuck with her. She misses her family. She misses her home, and she sees glimpses of that through the souls that she saves. And so it's really hard for her to move on. She has to deal with not only saving the other Mamiwata, but saving the world, and also saving this boy. Like, she did already save him, but it turns out there's a lot more happening in his life that she's helping him do, helping him fix, helping him, y'all. It's just read the book, okay? I rated a 5 out of 5, okay? Like, I don't care, you can say no book is really a 5 out of 5. It is to me. It's a 5 out of 5 to me. But anyways, if you're into fantasy, if you're into mythology that's not Greek mythology, because that's very predominant in fantasy novels, if you just want to see a black girl be the main character, if you're into mermaids, if you're just into so many different things, then this book is truly the one for you. I highly recommend it. There is a sequel that I have not yet read or gotten my hands on, so I cannot attest to it, but I do have it on my wish list, which is in the description of this video if you want to help a sister out and get her a book. I don't know. That's up to you though. I'm going to, however, go into the second book that I read for 2023. So the second book that I've read so far in 2023 is Dreamdark Blackbringer by Laini Taylor, and this is another YA fantasy novel, although with different magic and different mythical creatures. And this one is primarily about devils, winds, fae, and what is the word? Djinn? I think that's how it's pronounced. And the premise of the story is the main character, her name is Magpie Wind Witch, and she's quite literally the granddaughter of the West Wind. She's a fairy, and she does have a very unique ability, besides a set that is not revealed until later on in the novel. She is the last remaining devil hunter. Way back thousands of years ago, it was primarily the job of fairies to hunt down devils and to capture them and seal them to, you know, protect the world from them. We know the whole shtick, but at this point, most fairies are out living their lives, like doing whatever they're doing, and she's the only one hunting down these devils and trying to reseal them. However, one day an ancient evil known as the Blackbringer, you know, the title of the book, is released out into the world, and he's like the devil of devils. He is the darkest and evilest force that she has ever gone against, and so she's obviously just not off the rip able to fight this devil. She doesn't even see it at first. She only sees the remnants of the carnage that it leaves behind. So along with her, she has this band of crows that she flies with. That's her gang. That's her slimes, literally. Anyways, they embark on this very long and laborious journey. Like, when I say long, this book is 437 pages. She engages on this long journey with her crows and some other fae that she meets along the way to bring down the Blackbringer, and it involves meeting like basically the supreme creators of the world, the biggest jinns. How do y'all say that word? Please don't play with me right now. She embarks on a journey to hunt down and seal the Blackbringer before he quite literally unravels the magic that keeps their world together. Just like Skin of the Sea, Blackbringer is a very deeply descriptive book. I mean, it's not 400 pages for no reason. It's a really vivid world of magic. And I think the biggest thing for me while reading the book was just seeing how well described everything was. Like, Laini is quite literally, she's creating a world, she's creating magic, new creatures, new everything, and she takes the time to describe all of that and to really world build. And I'm definitely a world building person. I need to know, like, how is this actually functioning? What is everything that's going on in this world? And she definitely delivers on that. Obviously not everything is explained, but it's explained to a point where it's like, yeah, like, I have a good grasp on how magic in this world works, and it does so much for me when reading this book, just having that description there for me. It's very vivid and imaginative prose that brings the world to life, and it gets you really immersed. Like, it's so descriptive that you're reading it, and for me, I quite literally lost track of time because I was so engaged into the story and the world that we're brought in for these 400 pages. And for me, that's why I did rate this a 5 out of 5 as well. This is a very old book. Like, this was released in the early 2000s, and it's definitely one that holds up till time. Like, this, listen, it could have been written last week and I wouldn't have minded. Like, I think for me, time is definitely not an aspect when it comes to books, and this is a book that has withstood time. It's definitely, it doesn't feel old, it just feels really just rich. And so I would definitely suggest it. 5 out of 5. Go check out that book if you're interested into YA, fantasy, and stuff to do with like fae. The third book that I have read so far this year is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and this is a New York Times bestseller. This one is more recent. It came out in 2017, and the story deals with our main character. If you see her on the front cover here, her name is Isabel, and she is a portrait artist. She's like really amazing at it, to the point where I can't remember what it's called in the book, but it's like humans who are really good at something, to the point where the fae in this, or the fairies in this book, like seek them out for their talents. There's a specific word for what they have, but her thing is portraits. She's a portrait artist. She's incredibly talented in it, and the most talented in like the last thousands of years since the last portrait artist. She lives in this town that's on the boundary between the fair folk world, which are the magical creatures in this. These are our fairies, and the humans. And inside this town is all the different humans who have this really insane talent at something. And in her portrait, something that's really unique about it is the fair folk in this world, they're incredibly dangerous, they're cold, they don't really feel human emotions, but she's able to paint them with human emotions. She's able to paint them past this thing called glamour. And what glamour is it's part of their magic. It makes them look way better than they actually look. So it makes them look like, oh, like godly. But she's able to see the flaws in that, and she uses those flaws to help her in her painting. And she creates these pieces where they kind of look humanish, or they have human-ish emotions, and they go crazy over it, la-di-da-di-da. She uses it, she gains, I guess, enchantments in exchange for the portrait. So it's like, okay, like, I want every Wednesday on the 3rd month a chicken to deliver 4 non-harmful normal eggs, normal size, that will not, like, she makes sure that there's no opportunity for them to harm her or her family. But one day she gets an unexpected client, the Autumn Prince. His name is Rook. In the fair folk world, each land is a season and each one has its prince. The prince is the most powerful of those in that land, and if they ever are weak or anything, then they will quite literally be like torn to pieces by their people. This isn't the kind of world where it's like, oh, you're my king because we love you. You're purely like the prince because you're just the most powerful. If you ever become less powerful, then you will be forcibly dethroned. Anyways, he becomes her client. You know, things are kind of like, what's going on between us? Like, I'm painting you, but why are you staring me down like that? What's going on? Okay, not too much. And she has this whole thing where she's like, am I in love? Oh, that's ghetto. Let me not. Which, stand her for that, honestly. But anyways, she finishes the portrait, and here's a really bad thing. She paints him with human emotion in his eyes. She paints him with sadness, and you obviously cannot be showing human emotions in the fair folk world. He comes back, he's like, how dare you? You did this on purpose, you know, to sabotage me as a prince, to get my people to think I'm weak, to, you know, try and dethrone me. I insist you go to the fair folk court and you stand trial. I don't know, I'm assuming they're British. Her name's Isabel, for Christ's sake, since Isobel. If she ain't British coded, I don't know really what to tell you, yeah. Anyways, he's like, you must stand in court for your insolence. And she's like, no, wait, no, wait, no. I just draw what I see. I just draw what I see. If you have sorrow in your eyes, that was you, not me. Like, I'm begging for my life. Don't bring me to the court. Listen, hear me out. One of my clients, yeah, he's cool. Like, bring me to him instead. We'll beg for my life. We'll figure it out. And he's like, alright, like, I'll hear out. He had the hearts for her. That was the only reason that he agreed. He's like, I'll accompany you here. You have to sort this out. And she's like, yeah, we'll get there. And I'm like, I'll use my stuff to like make them think that this is normal. And then your people will be like, oh, he's not a weakness. It's just a thing. It's a cool trick that she can do. And he's like, yeah, okay. That's the plan in it. Obviously things don't go to plan. Because, you know, what's this one? This is one rule. This one rule between the lands. A fair folk and a human cannot be in love. They cannot be in love. Guys, this is literally enemies to lover. There's this initial animosity between them that turns into a little unexpected connection. But that unexpected connection, illegal. It's illegal, punishable by death. Or she has to become a fair folk, and she doesn't want to become a fair folk. She absolutely abhors them. She's like, no bueno. It's literally a fantasy enemies to lover. If that's all you need to hear, no, I'm deciding that's all you need to hear to know to purchase this. I rate this one like a 4.5 out of 5. It was a little wonky towards the end. Felt a bit rushed. Felt like the middle was just going places, but a 4.5 out of 5. And that is our third book. The fourth book is The Saga of Tanya the Evil, Volume 2, which I don't have with me physically because it was a library loan. Save the libraries. I don't know why I did this for that. borrow your books from the library so that you don't run into the dilemma of buying a book and then not enjoying it and then not having the time to return it because you obviously didn't read that book in 30 days, we know. Anyways, this is the continuation of a light novel series, The Saga of Tanya the Evil by Carlos Zen. It's about this salaryman. He gets pushed in front of a train, literally gets isekai'd into another world. Oh my goodness, it's a magical world. They're in war. Who does he get isekai'd into? A little girl. He's like, I don't believe in God. I'm really cynical. I don't like humans. We gonna rock this world. We gonna use this little child body and we gonna make it to the top. We gonna get that money and we gonna retire. So this is the continuation of that series. At this point, Tanya has made a name for herself as the Devil of the Rhine and continues to climb the ranks of the Empire's military. Despite her petite appearance and just overall the fact that she's a little girl, her tactical brilliance and just how amazing and powerful she is on the field continues to propel her. However, in volume 2, her sort of enemy it focuses between now enemy mages who are suddenly, you know, a lot more powerful than they were at the beginning of the war. And also in terms of inside the military's own political background, there are people who are kind of going against her and be like, no, like, I don't think we should like continue to support her and blah, 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 blah. And she's just trying to navigate all of this. I would definitely say if you're really into stuff about military and war and politics, you'll enjoy Saga of Tanya the Evil because it gets really in depth about like war maneuvers, philosophies. There's a lot of reference to like economics and just overall stuff about human nature and war. Very, very war fighting, politics-ish heavy, and if you're not interested in that, then I would not suggest this for you. But for me, I enjoy Saga of Tanya the Evil, and I will continue picking up the light novels occasionally. And for me, this volume was a solid 4 out of 5. Definitely the first one was like the really wapow one, and this one is kind of just continuing the overall world building and building up of our character Tanya. So the 5th book that I have read so far this year is the one memoir, and that is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jennette McCurdy. This was honestly it was and still is honestly such a powerful book and memoir. I do rate it, I'm just gonna say off the bat, a 5 out of 5. Jennette is very brutally honest and uses dark humor to like tell the story of a really harsh childhood and teenhood and beginning of adulthood. The book the book recounts her stories of being a child star, of eating disorders, addiction, and her really complicated relationship with her mother, who was super invasive and controlling over her life. It shows about just how much her life has kind of ricocheted. It's about healing, it's about recovery, it's about how you can be dealt the wrong cards and you can get to a point in your life where you're actually discovering and going through your own desires, your own wants. It's like actually insane. If you've heard about Nickelodeon and the whole Dan Schneider thing, Jennette was a child star during that. She was a child star under Dan Schneider, and so obviously that facilitated a lot of abuse. So she was receiving abuse from Dan, from her mother, from just the other people that she interacted with in her life, because obviously how could she have healthy love relationships if all she has to look back on is one, her parents' fragmented marriage, and then just the super controlling way that her mother controlled her life. Like her mother started her on a strict diet and gave her an eating disorder very young. Her mother sexually abused her, mentally abused her, emotionally abused her, physically abused her, literally every abuse in the book. And I would definitely say do not read this book if you get easily triggered by such topics, because it's very graphic, it's very in-depth, like you're reading visibly as she like forces herself to throw up. Because of how brutal and raw the story is, it sends a very powerful message, and it makes the overall journey that you go through with Jennette a lot more connecting to you. You feel a lot more invested in it. And obvious, like I said, 5 out of 5 for me. And those are the 5 books that I've read so far in 2023. If you didn't know, I myself am a self-published author. I have 2 books out right now. One is a collection of poems that I've written myself, and the other is a self-help ebook centered around helping teenagers build passive income, build any sort of income really through side hustled or sort of smaller jobs if you're under 18, or even if you are 18 above, because this just gives you more freedom if you are an adult. If you're under 18 and you want to learn how to make money, the links to both my poetry book and my ebook will be and are always in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.